Those of you that have been with the Washington Journal all morning long know that the activity begins to pick up. You can tell the difference between now and 7 o'clock this morning. In a little bit more than an hour, you can see our set right there on the screen. A little bit more than an hour, the bells will ring and the New York Stock Exchange for another day on this January 21st will be in business. And I want to ask, at that point, Gayle Pankey, what will you be doing when the bell rings?
Well, the bell rings is pretty frenetic. We're going to be running around and trying to get as much information as we can for any stocks that we've been trading for the last couple of days, so we can keep our clients up on what possibly could happen in that particular issue today.
What will you be doing, Bob Murphy?
Well, I guess our day heats up around 9:20. All specialists are required to be on the floor by 9:15, and brokers will come into our trading crowds where our stocks are listed and want a pre-opening look. So the scurrying really starts to around the post on the trading floor at about 9:20 to 9:30. Everybody wants to get in, get their order in by 9:30.
Gayle Pankey, how did you get into this?
I started off as a messenger on the trading floor, also known as a squad, back in 1971, and subsequently worked my way up, working for different broker-dealers on the trading floor.
Why did you want to work here in the first place?
Well, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at that point. I had just graduated from high school, an all-girls school, and at that time the exchange was very male-dominated, and I was 17 years old, and it was, like I said, in June of 1971. I graduated from high school on Friday night, and I was at work Monday morning. So I went into kind of social shock for a while. But it was one of the normal, I guess, not normal passages. At that time, you used to go to insurance companies or banks to become a teller or whatever the case may be. And a friend of my sister's was a reporter on the trading floor, a person that records trades, and told me that the exchange was starting to hire women. So I took a shot at it.
Do you have a college education?
No, I did not.
Bob Murphy, how'd you get started in this?
Almost the same way. I started as a squad boy in 1976, and from there I became a specialist clerk, and that's where I really learned the business, and then got my seat in 1982.
We've got the phone lines open. We want you to join us if you have any questions about how the New York Stock Exchange operates or how our two guests do their job. I noticed on your badge up there it says governor. What's that mean?
I have the privilege of serving the institution as a governor. There are 16, and we basically just oversee all the trading, generally in our designated areas. And if there are any arbitrations, mediations, or overseeing that has to be done, the governor in that zone will do it.
Gayle Pankey's from Brooklyn originally, and you're from Buffalo originally. How much education did you have to have for this job?
High school education. This is a learn-on-the-fly type of business, and other than some classes down at the New York Institute of Finance, it's basically a high school education.
All right, before we take our first call, a touchy question, and neither one of you have to answer it if you don't want to, and you certainly don't have to give the figures, but can you make a lot of money doing this, Gayle Pankey?
Well, considering the stress factor, I would think that you'd want to. You know, I don't know if you'd want to put up with this kind of frenetic and frenzied atmosphere if you weren't going to be duly compensated for it, because it does tend to be a very neurotic and time-absorbing type of position. Yes, you can, but at the same time, you can also lose a lot, too.
How would you answer that, Mr. Murphy?
Pretty much the same way. The opportunity is limitless here. If you a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of personality, it is a real people business down here. You're coming in contact with literally hundreds of people on a daily basis.
How are you paid, though? What's the system? Salary?
It's probably most people 50% salary, 50% bonus. So if it's a bad year on Wall Street, not that anybody's going to have any bleeding hearts, but it could be rather a lean year.
You're in that picture is why I was pointing over the screen. They can see you there in the background.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing right there?
Right there, I believe that was yesterday, I was trading Telebras, the Brazilian telecommunications conglomerate.
Now, is that a hectic moment there?
Believe it or not, that's pretty calm there. Usually that stock's, the last year has been one of the most active stocks on the floor.
Let's listen a little bit while you're talking there so we can see what you're saying.
Sure.
I'm buying 10,000.
It's only 10,007.
5,300 IBS.
I'm QRC.
4,700 is Bear Stearns.
QRC. You want to buy any more?
Who am I buying this stock for?
507.
You want to buy any more?
6 for 200. You still?
6 for $3,000.
All right, 6.
7 for small here, Bobby.
Jack,
7
I'm bidding you, Jack.
Sold. 2,000 traded 7. 2 more traded 7. Take that.
IBS Bear still buying.
2,000 Bear Stearns. I
IBS
can buy
Bear.
another 1,300.
1,300 dot.
I bought 13 at 17. He's on Bear. 477.
477.
Hello.
What do you offer?
10,007.
Before you stock at
10,007. 6 for $3,000, right?
Yes.
6 for $3,000. Telebras. Thank you, sir.
QRC on the offer. You're bidding for 3, Jack. What's the offer? 7?
That's 7. 6 for 3,000. 10,000 at 7.
QRC.
3,000 trades at 6 right there.
I bought 3,000.
He's bidding. He's bidding. I'm not bidding.
3,106 and 6 on Pershing.
I'm Pershing. You bought, Jack.
2,000.
What do you want to bid?
2,800.
Now, what are you doing here, Bob?
Okay, we're trading, actively trading Telebras. The market is 106 and 16s, bid offered at 17s, and that
What's
gentleman.
a teeny?
1/16th, which is our minimum variation, the increments which we trade in now, as of last June, and those brokers in the crowd that I'm talking to represent different orders on the buy side and the sell side, and their headsets are connected to their clerks at the booth, and they're transmitting the orders to them.
Gail Pankey, on a normal day of 530 million stocks traded, average, how many of them are traded this way?
Oh my goodness. Well, it depends on what's happening in a different particular issue. Telebras happens to be an ADR, which is a foreign listed issue, and it tends to be quite volatile. You can also have something like Philip Morris or General Electric that are very large issues. There are also options related issues. There are derivatives that are attached to it. So that all depends on what the type of issue that you're trading, the type of volatility that you'll have.
Where are you going now?
Oh, we had an issue yesterday that we were looking at for a particular client of ours, and the stock was looking not in a very good way. It looked like it could open up down $4 or $5, which would probably be a little bit more than 10 to 15% of the issue. So we were trying to pay attention because we were a seller as well.
Let's listen a little bit, see what you had to say there.
And RPM.
Most of this coming through the system on the bid?
Most of the system, some over the counter.
Okay, what's the news?
The news of the earnings are a little bit light here. 64 cents versus 47 cents.
64 cents, 47 for the last quarter. What did the analysts expect?
The analysts were looking
So off by 3 cents or something like that?
3 cents, correct.
Okay, thanks.
Now, is this a hectic moment for you, or is this normal?
No, that's a normal situation. Being the fact that the stock was going to be down 15% isn't a normal situation. The analysts had expected that the corporation was going to come in 3 cents better than it did, and it tended to be very, very heavy yesterday, meaning that we had sellers yesterday. But that's not a very frenzied atmosphere right there.
Specialist trader Bob Murphy and an independent floor trader Gail Pankey is at our table. We go to Lompoc, California. Thank you very much for waiting. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. The movie Trading Places, did either of your guests see it? With Dan Aykroyd and
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes, I've seen clips of it, yes.
They both have. Yes, sir. Why did you ask?
Okay, well, the question is, I've seen the movie about 3 times, and I just can't get the punchline. They're trading at the end of the movie something, futures, commodities, and it's the prices go up, the prices go down, but I can't seem to follow how one guy becomes rich and how the other guy becomes destroyed.
Can you help him, Bob Murphy?
Well, it's basically being at the right place at the right time and catching all the swings. If that's, I don't know how often that happens in real life, but as a trader on the floor, the whole thing is to buy them when they're throwing them at you and sell them when they're screaming for them. So obviously he hit all the right moves in that movie.
Lakewood, Pennsylvania, you're our next caller. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. If America discovered that the Wall Street Games is simply a pyramid scheme, and then they would go and have an orderly cash-in run for all stocks, can you guess, perhaps this is unfair to them, but this should be addressed to the leaders, how many cents on a dollar if all collective corporations converted to cash their tangible stock, their assets, how many cents would be available for an investor on a dollar?
All right, caller, thanks. Would you first agree that this is a pyramid scheme here, Gail Pankey?
Not at all. This is a situation where you are allowed to become a participant and an owner in a corporation that is part of the structure of America. The pyramid schemes tend to be scams. I don't view what we do for a living as a scam in any way, shape, or form. This is the ability to be able to participate in the best capitalistic society in the world.
Murphy, you want to add anything?
Well, he's referring to the demise of the capitalistic free world. So, and I think market cap is around $11 trillion. If everybody cashed in, I don't know if we could come up with $11 trillion, but, you know, we do have Washington maybe could do something about that.
Floyd Norris of the New York Times and Alan Sloan of Newsweek will be with us in about 25 minutes or so. Stratford, Connecticut, you're next.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Sir, what I'm trying to understand here is how are earnings exactly determined? There appear to be two kinds of earnings. There are the ones that are reported and then there are ones that are projected. How do you control the projection of these earnings so that your stock gets maximum value? And why is this system of valuation accepted?
Thanks.
All right. I think that, first of all, we have analysts that handle this, stock analysts that look exactly at what the corporation is doing, paying attention to their P&E ratio, as well as their revenues, net capital, and so on, to come to some kind of conclusion of where they think that corporation basically sits. If, in fact, that analyst believes that that corporation is going to be on the upside, or the revenue or the actual growth of that corporation is going to be very good for the rest of the year or for the rest of the quarter, that is their projection. What actually happens is you have CPA auditors that go in and obviously pay attention to the books. And as they pay attention to the books and realize all of the actual numbers, then that is what is the reality. So you have what the assumption or projection is that analysts will give on a particular listed corporation, and then you have the actual number. Now, when that is a diversification between the two, or they don't come in line, that's when you find that there may be a reaction in the stock.
We're actually on a balcony overlooking the floor of the New York Stock Exchange for the rest of today's Washington Journal. We go to Atlanta for our next call. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Brian, how you doing this morning?
Fine, sir. Welcome.
Yes, I want to just tell Mr. Murphy, Miss Pankey. Miss Pankey, I'm so happy to see you this morning. I have a question and a statement. My statement is that I noticed that Reverend Jackson is going to Wall Street and trying to get minority participation in Wall Street. As a Afro-American, I'm a retired firefighter, and I started dabbling around in the stock market because my wife worked for Merrill Lynch, if I can say that on there. And I just started dabbling around and doing some investing, and I was one of the kind of people that knew that firefighting is kind of like sports. At a certain age, you get where you can't do it anymore. So I started, like I said, looking for my future, and it has been good to me. And my question to you, Ms. Pankey, is what can the minority business do to get more blacks where they can be in a position? I'm thankful to God this morning that I'm able to be where I am, but it wasn't that hard for me. And I wish that I knew some kind of way to get other people to invest and see that it's not that hard to put some money back for the future. Would you comment on that?
Thanks, Atlanta.
Well, I think that, first of all, I think that you have to, in terms of putting money away for the future, you have to be disciplined about it, and you have to pay attention to the fact that the stock market can be very advantageous, and it could be a useful tool to be able to allow for a better retirement versus a Social Security situation. In terms of Reverend Jackson being on Wall Street, we're very happy that he's here. When I came here, as already stated, in 1971, it was a very, very different society. This society has opened up. It's been much more affable, and it's been much more congenial to minorities and to women on the trading floor as well as in the industry. And I think that it is a viable and very good path that a lot of people should look at. Prior to me coming to Wall Street, you didn't look at Wall Street as a situation unless you were, to be perfectly honest, Caucasian, and that you were tall and blue-eyed and so on. It doesn't happen that way now. Right now, it's very, very interesting in the fact that there is a diversification on Wall Street. And diversification, like your portfolio, you should do that as well as with different types of ethnic backgrounds, and so that therefore it does become a better flow of knowledge. And I think that people that are in that minority situation should certainly look at the exchange and member firms in order to progress their careers.
Bob Murphy, you're not really that tall, but you are white. How many people do you find on the floor of the exchange that don't look like you?
Don't look like
you. In other words, how many different kinds of people do you see?
Oh, there's across the board. I mean, we have a lot of black people, a lot of Asian people. There seem to be a lot of Italians and Irish down on the floor as well.
How long have you been here?
21 years.
How has it changed in the last 5 years? Much? Seen any change in the faces?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, relative to everybody else, you know, every other industry, I think we are getting more black people into the framework. We are getting more women. There are a lot more women brokers now than there were 20 years ago.
Let's take a call from Pompano Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. One statement. The IRA, the Roth IRA, is subject to creditors, so watch out for that. And Ms. Pansky, how come certain stocks and certain traders can only trade after hours, and does that make it a really true and fair market to me as a small investor?
Thanks, Pompano Beach. Do you know that to be true?
I don't know if that's true, that there's only certain traders that can trade after hours. That may be NASDAQ. I can't really even be quoted on that. I'm really not sure that that's true. Anyone who is registered with the NASD or with the New York Stock Exchange is certainly in a position where they can trade. They're enabled to trade through their broker-dealers, or if they're licensed themselves, can trade for themselves. So I don't necessarily know that that's true.
Let me ask you a couple of quick questions about what you're wearing. You have a badge on that says 617, Gayle Pankey, and then sole proprietor. Where's the number come from?
Well, 617 is a number that's allocated by the New York Stock Exchange when I became a member. This number is utilized in trading so that when you do an actual transaction, this number is given to the contra broker. It's kind of like a thumbprint.
Now, Bob Murphy, you have on a blue jacket, blue, my eyes are bothering me this morning, no, green jacket, and it says down here on the jacket itself, 2038. And then RPM Specialist Corporation. What's all that mean?
Okay, the 2038 is my designated number, and that's how people tell who they traded with. They write down my broker number. And RPM Specialist is the company that I work for, and all employees and members have to wear some sort of a jacket, and usually there is a company name designation on it.
About 12 more minutes with our guest, Newcastle, Delaware. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Brian.
Morning.
Another excellent and informative show.
Thanks for joining us.
I would like to give you a little quick fill-in on that trading places. The Duke brothers try to corner the market in frozen orange juice, and there's a phony crop report involved, and Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy beat them to the punch at every turn. But my question is this: how in the world does anybody on that floor, you know, I mean, they show it in the movie, it's pure pandemonium. How in the world does anybody on that floor keep track of what's going on? And how do they know what they're doing?
Does it make you nervous, caller?
It's sheer madness.
Thanks, Bob Murphy.
We refer to it as organized chaos. Believe it or not, I feel personally it takes about 2 years to get the hang of it. There is a lingo down on the floor that everybody abides by. And pretty much there are 4 key words: at, for, take 'em, and sold. And at means you're a seller, for means you're a buyer, take 'em means you're buying stock, and sold means you're selling stock. So everybody pretty much is on the same page. It may look crazy because there's a lot of money involved and there is a stress factor, but we all pretty much know what we're doing.
Catherine Parker of the New York Stock Exchange has been someone who's helped us keep it all in some line here, so made some sense out of it. She's the broadcast specialist with the New York Stock Exchange. When can you make a mistake, Gayle Pankey? You know, is it possible as you're running around out there?
Well, being human, it's possible, but you try to keep the mistakes to a minimum.
What kind of a mistake can you make if you're not careful?
If you're not careful and you're not paying attention, if you're in a crowd that's very, very active, you may have 40 or 50 brokers or traders that are standing in that crowd that are screaming for supply and demand. You may end up being a buyer and trading with another buyer. Obviously, then there's no meeting of the minds, so therefore there constitutes an error. That error can cost a lot of money.
On your screen, live pictures from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Noblesville, Indiana, our next call. Go ahead, please.
Yes. It's my understanding that for every sell, there is a buy, correct?
Right.
Okay. On a day when there is a huge downturn or a crash, where do all the buyers come from? And what happens if you run out of buyers?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that hasn't happened yet, that we ran out of buyers. But usually what it is the market is supply and demand. And when you get a drastically down market, the sellers are seeking out buyers. So what a specialist job to do in an orderly fashion is to take the stock down. He'll buy some for his own account, and we have orders that are entrusted to us at different levels. If the last sale on the stock is 50, we'll have orders in our book from 50 down to could be $5 or $10. So we'll just in an orderly fashion, if the sellers are being aggressive and have a large supply of stock, we'll orderly take it down and seek levels where there is buy interest until it's exhausted and then go to the next level.
Pensacola, Florida, you're next.
Yes, I have a question. If an average stock is, say, $10, why can I not buy a stock for $10? Why do I have to buy $1,000 or $5,000 worth of stock? Can you explain that to me in detail in terms that I can understand?
You understand that, Gail Pankey?
Yes, I understand the question, but you can buy a stock for $10 outside of the commissions that you're going to have to pay on the transaction, which would constitute one share of stock. The average price of stocks on the trading floor at this point in time is $43, I believe. So if you wanted to buy one share of a $43 issue, you would pay $43 plus commissions. If you wanted to end up buying 1,000 shares of stock, well, then you're going to end up spending $43,000. So it all depends on the volume of shares that you want to purchase. But if a stock is a certain price, that is the price that you will pay for that issue.
Kearney, New Jersey, go ahead, please.
Yes.
You're on the air.
Yes, hi. I've always been interested in working as a trader on the trading floor, and I just wanted to know what do I have to do to make a connection to work there, or if maybe you can give me some tips.
How old are you now?
I'm 40 years old, and I have experience in sales all my life, in real estate and other types of sales.
Thank you very much. Realistically, what are his chances of, at 40 years old, doing something that'll get him here as a trader?
Probably his best bet is to go to a reputable employment agency and tell them that what he'd like to accomplish, and being at the trading floor, he can also go to the New York Stock Exchange and fill out an application. And I believe there's a question about aptitude because there are many different levels and areas of jobs on the floor. Trading on the floor, you have to work into. There's also, to be a trader on the floor, you also need to purchase or rent a membership, which is rather on the expensive side.
Is that $1 million now?
It's $1,750,000 to own one, and approximately about $175,000, $180,000 a year to rent one.
Gail Pankey, again, how long have you been here?
I've been here for 27 years.
27 years. What are your goals from here on? What do you want to do next?
Well, I started my own firm 6 years ago down here, so I'm not ready to go to the next step yet. We basically represent pension funds and different corporation funds, so we're trading them all day long. Like we were talking about supply and demand earlier. If you have a situation where there is a sell interest in the stock, there's a lot of value-added asset managers that I represent, and they would kick into that issue at that particular time. So we try to keep up what's going on in the market at all times, with the economy at all times, and obviously because of the fact that I've worked so hard to get this far, I'm not ready to relinquish it yet.
How many people in your company?
It's a very small company. There's only 3 of us.
And how do you get business?
I get business through marketing and doing presentations to different pension companies and to going to different asset managers and explaining to them that we do what they call direct access business, which allows for the public to come directly to the trading floor. That constitutes that we have to have several different licenses to do that. Most member firms are not licensed to do that, and we are one of the very few that are.
Freehold, New Jersey, you're next. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello. I was wondering how the exchange goes about regulating the trading of shares to ensure that the use of inside information is kept to a minimum, and to regulate the brokerages so that they're always working for the best interest of their customers and not just working for their own benefits.
Thanks. We had Ed Qualwasser on earlier who talked a little bit about that. You want to try to answer that?
Sure. We probably have the top regulation in the country, and our industry now with the technology wave, everything we do is on computer, and the stock exchange has implemented an audit trail which plays into our broker numbers, and that's how the stock exchange can analyze literally trade by trade. They can go back if there's a complaint, or if we think they feel there was any wrongdoing in a particular trade. They can recreate the actual transaction, get all the players involved, and see if there were any improprieties that occurred.
What's your own personal goal from here on?
Other than take over the world?
Yes. Other than that,
just to grow with the business. I mean, this business is so dynamic, and it's ever changing, ever challenging, and just to get a pretty good handle on it and grow with it.
Long Island, you're next.
Hello.
Hi.
I'd like to know why the trading of some stocks are halted, and what happens to these stocks during that time.
Thanks.
They have trading halts due to different reasons. There may be news out in that particular issue. There may be no supply and demand of any consequence. There may not be any interest in that particular issue at that particular time, so that therefore the specialist firm that is handling that stock will not open the issue for a particular reason. There may be an analyst news is out. There's a lot of different variables that can come into play with a situation like that.
Bob Murphy, do you trade in your own stock here? I mean, do you buy stocks here yourself for your own person?
I have somebody in the firm that does it professionally. My time is really too busy, and if I started trading my own account, it would distract from what I do on a day-to-day basis. So
same thing for Gail Pankey. Do you buy stocks here?
Yes, I do have stocks, but I don't handle them myself. It's taken care of by a financial advisor out of state, and I basically don't give him any ideas of what to do and when to do it.
Last call, Lansing, Michigan. Go ahead, please.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Good morning.
I use an internet-based discount broker, and they have a policy that orders are executed within 60 seconds, and I'm wondering how they can possibly do it. Thanks.
Thanks. What's a discount broker?
Discount broker is a broker who doesn't offer the same services as a full-service broker, and accordingly the commission is much less than a full-service broker.
Can you answer his question, Gail Pankey, about the 60-second promise?
Well, if we use the super dot or the dot system, considering the fact that he's coming through the internet, he's using a computer system. So that therefore, he's coming in and you're probably going through what we call the dot system, which is a designated order turnaround system. That in itself will constitute 22 seconds. So when it goes through your internet system, through your broker-dealer, then a 60-second turnaround is not impossible.
Last question to both of you. What's the best thing about your job, Bob Murphy?
The people. The people. You come in contact with so many people on a daily basis. You breed camaraderie. The people, what it's all about.
Gail
Make it
Pankey?
happen.
Well, I personally get bored very easy, and considering where I worked, there's no chance of being bored at any given time here, so it keeps my interest.
On the screen is where our set is. We are high above the New York Stock Exchange, as you can see there with the lights. Normally, those of you who watch this kind of thing, the CNBC camera sits right where we are. It looks down on the floor, and that's where you see the correspondence later on in the day if you're flipping around the dial.